Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. So, a very good morning, everyone. Today, the second session for the certificate course on regulatory and forensic aspects of herbal medicine. We are going to discuss about the regulatory requirements for approval of API and biologics. So in the previous session by Jaini ma'am, you had already discussed about the regulatory requirements for the approval of API. But now in this particular lecture, we will also deal with the biological products or biologics. As we had seen that since the time of COVID-19, there is an increased number of products which are originated from biological sources. So in that regards, we are going to see the regulatory requirements for the approval of both API and biologics, and what are the things that you need to do differently in order to go for the approval of biologics. So first we will quickly review what is the regulatory requirement for the API. So for that, we all know what is an API, the medicinal products, pharmaceuticals, veterinary medicines, medical devices, food supplements. They all are part of regulations which are designed or by the government to protect the public health. So the regulatory department or regulatory affair department is an important part of organizational structures of pharmaceutical companies. And we had already known that the adherence to regulatory guidelines is very important in case of next point is why we are looking at this is because we are to adopt the global regulatory framework for the APIs and उसकी वजह से क्या होगा that the licensing authorities, industry and patient सभी के लिए it will be very much beneficial if there is a global regulatory framework जिसको हर कोई adopt कर रहा है. So what are the APIs? APIs are the constituents जो एक pharmacological activity देता है either for the curing or for the diagnosis purpose. And for this reason दो crucial factors को API के अंदर consider किया गया है, that is the quality of the API and the stability of the API. So overall, the FDA guidelines for the regulatory framework, they depends or they mainly focus on three parts. That is, what is the quality of the product, what is the safety of the product, and what is the medicinal properties of the product. So essentially, जो biological compounds hai, which we call it as a biologics, they comprises or contains any derived from any biological molecules which are derived from human cells or human tissues or say blood, and they are used to treat or prevent the disease or defect or injury. So biologics and API में that is the only difference, that APIs are basically they are the medicinal products which are basically for the pharmacological activity for diagnosis purpose they are used. But for biological thing, the only difference, that is the origin from which we are getting the biological molecules, that is the either human cell or human tissue or cell, any living cell or living tissue for that matter. So in case of API or in case of biologics, what happens is a new drug or new molecular entity is the one which is an active compound or complex which is not previously approved by the FDA. So जैसे Jaini ma'am has talked about the investigational new drug application, that is IND application and NDA new drug application. तो वो सारी जो है they are new molecular entity जिनको previously FDA में कभी approval नहीं मिला है. The second one are novel drugs. I mean, they are novel drugs because उनका एक्सटेंसिव कैरेक्टराइजेशन अभी तक नहीं किया गया है फॉर द फार्माकोलॉजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज. तो मतलब ऐसी ड्रग्स जिसको एक चीज के लिए यूज किया जा रहा था, इफ द सेम मेडिकेशन इज यूज्ड फॉर अनदर डिजीज, In that case also it will be considered as new molecular entity because उसका extensive characterization नहीं किया गया है for that particular disease. Okay. So, what is the general work profile as a regulatory affairs professional in the API manufacturing company? Whoever is working in regulatory affairs department, uska first मतलब major job work will involve filing of DMF with the regulatory agencies. It can be NDA, it can be ANDA, it can be INDA, which or MAA, which is filed by a formulator. ठीक है. Next one is they will be important for filing of the dossier of API. Third one is they will be looking for assessment and filing the amendments or variations in the formulations, which may be related to manufacturing, which may be related to control, which may be related to stability studies. In other words, we call them as SUPEC. मतलब पोस्ट अप्रूवल चेंजेस अगर कुछ होते हैं तो उनके जो भी अमेंडमेंट्स या वेरिएशंस करने पड़ते हैं टू द रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटीज. दैट इज द थर्ड थिंग. And fourth one is taking approval of customers of API before implementing any major changes regarding the informations which are mentioned in the DMF or ASMF or dossier. तो जब भी कोई भी API से API मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी इज मेकिंग एनी चेंजेस या कोई भी चेंज इम्प्लीमेंट कर रही है तो जो भी उनके कस्टमर्स है, जो भी फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री उनके कस्टमर्स है, उनको दे हैव टू टेक द अप्रूवल बिफोर डूइंग दैट. बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली उसके बाद जो भी चेंजेस आएंगे इन द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पार्ट, इन द कंट्रोल पार्ट, इन द स्टेबिलिटी पार्ट, तो उसके लिए दे विल हैव टू टेक द approval from the regulatory agencies. ठीक है. Now what is API? तो which is active pharmaceutical ingredient, which is the substance which is intended to be used for the manufacturing of the pharmaceutical dosage form. So जब भी वो फार्मास्यूटिकल डोजेज फॉर्म में यूज होता है, द फार्मास्यूटिकल डोजेज फॉर्म विल के अंदर देयर इज टू पार्ट्स, वन इज एक्टिव इंग्रेडिएंट, अदर वन इज एपीआई. ठीक है. तो जिसकी वजह से जो भी फार्माकोलॉजिकल एक्टिविटी आएगी या कोई भी इफेक्ट आएगी इन द डायग्नोसिस, इन द क्योर, इन द मिटिगेशन, इन द ट्रीटमेंट और इन द प्रिवेंशन ऑफ द डिजीज, तो वट एवर एक्टिव कंपाउंड इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दैट, उसको हम लोग बोलेंगे द एपीआई. तो व्हाट आर द रेगुलेटरी गाइडलाइंस फॉर एपीआईज इज नंबर वन, हर जो भी एपीआई के लिए अप्लाई करना चाहता है फॉर द रेगुलेटरी गाइडलाइंस, they have to show the evidence for the efficacy, for the safety and for the quality of drug product. ठीक है. So three main pillars for the regulatory part for any API or biologics for that matter is three part. One is quality, second one is efficacy and the third one is safety. Now हर एक कंट्री के लिए there are different procedures for regulatory filing of API. Majorly जो US FDA की गाइडलाइन फॉलो होती है, that is for the DMF, and for Europe it is ASMF. So basically it is the everything which is related to the drug, the API, which is given in the DMF or in the ASMF. And जो ऑलरेडी ऑफ पेटेंट एपीआईज है, जिनको विच वी कॉल इट एज अ ANDA पार्ट, for those the alternative assessment system is there, which is known as CEP, that is certification of suitability. And that is for the countries जिनका यूरोपियन फार्माकोपिया कन्वेंशन के अंदर there is a treaty which they have signed. So in that case the Europe and the USA, they differ in the regulatory submissions for the API. For the NDA, for that matter, yes, Jaini ma'am has already covered, but I will quickly review. NDA means the new drug application. Since 1938, हर कोई नई ड्रग जो आप कमर्शलाइजेशन के लिए ले जाना चाहते हो, दे हैज टू बी अप्रूव्ड फ्रॉम द USA, and it is like the form of, मतलब NDA के लिए you have to go for the approval of a new product, pharmaceutical product, for the sale and marketing in USA specifically. And for that you have to file the data in two parts, that is investigational new drug and which will be the part of new drug application. So जो भी नई ड्रग आती है मार्केट में, जिसमें आप एनिमल स्टडी के डेटा भी शो करोगे एंड क्लिनिकल ट्रायल्स के डेटा भी शो करोगे, because it is new in market, so that is known as NDA. The second one is ANDA, जहाँ पे you are just providing the equivalency कि वो innovator product के साथ equivalent है, उसके जैसा ही response देता है. So in that case, you do not have to provide the animal safety data and या animal data या clinical trial का कोई भी data देने की जरूरत नहीं है. The next one is drug master file or a DMF. तो that is the master file, मतलब वो फाइल जो है it contains the set of documents जिसमें detailed information है regarding the facilities, the protocols and the procedures which are used for manufacturing, packaging and storing purpose. तो DMF जो होता है that is to be submitted to FDA एंड उसके अंदर सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जो है वो दी जाती है रिगार्डिंग द केमिस्ट्री, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड कंट्रोल्स ऑफ अ ड्रग प्रोडक्ट, जिसको रिव्यू करके द एफडीए विल गिव द अप्रूवल टू दैट पर्टिकुलर एपीआई. सो व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ डीएमएफ इज जो भी सप्लायर्स है वो अपने प्रोडक्ट्स डायरेक्टली अवेलेबल करवाएंगे एफडीए फॉर इट्स रिव्यू फॉर द ड्रग कंपनी. Now the drug company will take that particular API for the submission of their IND or say NDA or ANDA approval. So ऐसा कोई particular requirement नहीं है to file the DMF, but जो भी information है, जो भी regulatory authorities के साथ share करनी है, which are about facilities, processes or articles, they are to be shared with the DMF. So generally or typically, the DMF is filed when two or more firms work in partnership on developing a manufacturing of a drug product. It should contain all the detailed information which is expected by the regulatory authorities. मतलब कि ANDA, NDA जो भी आप फाइल कर रहे हो उसके साथ you have to file the DMF for the complete review process. मतलब डीएमएफ के लिए देयर इज नो अप्रूवल प्रोसेस, सो व्हेनेवर यू आर फाइलिंग द एनडीए और एएनडीए उसके साथ यू शुड प्रोवाइड द डीएमएफ टू एग्जामाइन द रेगुलेटरी फाइलिंग्स. So what are the types of DMF? There are 5 types of DMF. First one is type 1, which deals with manufacturing site, facilities, operating procedures and persons involved. Type 2 deals with drug substance intermediate, material used in the preparation or drug product. Type 3 deals with packaging material. 4 with excipient, color and flavor, essence and materials used in their preparations. Because we are talking about US FDA, तो हर एक चीज आप जो भी क्वांटिटी में यूज करते हो, even if that is say microgram, you have to mention in the DMF. And type 5 is FDA accepted reference information. Next, we will move to the parts of DMF. Generally, there will be 2 parts. One is the applicant part, which is containing the non-confidential information, जो कि license holder will provide. And any license holder, if he wants to access for the purpose of marketing, वो applicant part जो है, it will be visible to everyone. Second one is a restricted part, which contains the confidential information which is related to the manufacturing procedures, जो सिर्फ और सिर्फ authorities के साथ disclose हो. So what are the registration requirements for DMF? That is the transmittal letter, and second one is administrative information about the submission. So transmittal letters के अंदर क्या क्या include होगा? One, that is the original submissions, and second, that are the amendments to the particular DMF. So what is included in original submission? Like what is the type of submission? Type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then identification of application. या मतलब कि किसी sponsor या applicant या holder किसी को support करने के लिए if you have submitted, in that case you have to identify the applicant. Signature of the holder or the authorized representative, and typewritten name and title of the signer. In case of amendments, again the identification of submission, that is to which DMF number this is the amendment. Amendments means आपने जो ऑलरेडी एक डीएमएफ दिया है उसके अंदर कुछ चेंजेस हो रहा है, तो कौन से डीएमएफ नंबर, कौन से टाइप ऑफ डीएमएफ नंबर और कौन से सब्जेक्ट ऑफ डीएमएफ के अंदर ये अमेंडमेंट हो रहे हैं. सेकेंड वन इज द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ पर्पस ऑफ सबमिशन, लाइक अपडेट्स हो रहे हैं या फॉर्मूला रिवाइज हो रहा है या प्रोसेस रिवाइज हो रहा है, क्या अमेंडमेंट हो रहा है. थर्ड वन विल बी द सिग्नेचर ऑफ होल्डर्स, and fourth one will be typewritten name and the title. The next one is the administrative information. For administrative information, there are two parts. One is original submission and the second one is amendment. For original submission, there are name and address of DMF holder, corporate headquarters, manufacturing or processing facility, or contact for FDA correspondence or agents अगर कोई है तो specific responsibility of each person जो listed है in the categories, and statement of commitment that the DMF is current and the DMF holder will comply with all the statements जो उसके अंदर आपने करे हैं. Second one is amendments, जहाँ पे there is name of DMF holder, number of DMF, name and address for correspondence, affected sections और page number जहाँ पे आपने amendment करने हैं, and the name and address of each person जिसके लिए this amendment support करेगा, means जिसका भी IND, NDA, ANDA, DMF या export application इस DMF amendment के ऊपर डिपेंड है, उन सारे लोगों के नेम एंड एड्रेस विल बी प्रोवाइडेड. So for filing of DMF, the recent updates are that regarding the US FDA DMF, we can submit the eCTD via the electronic submission gateways. So for that way, the unnecessary printing and use of paper will be prevented, and the deadline for the conservation of paper format to eCTD means everything which was once in a paper format is to be like provided or submitted through the eCTDs is beginning from has already begun from May 5, 2017. तो जो भी आप submissions कर रहे हो, whether it is NDA, whether it is ANDA या BLA या master file है, वो सारे ही जो है वो eCTD format में submit करने हैं. So that was all related to the regulatory requirements for the API, that is the drug master file, which is to be submitted in the format of eCTD for the API purpose. Now, because in this era after COVID-19, the things have started like हम लोग मेजरली अभी बायोलॉजिकल प्रोडक्ट्स भी इतने ही ज्यादा यूज करते हैं जितना एपीआई यूज करते हैं. तो इन दैट केस वी हैव टू गो थ्रू द रेगुलेटरी गाइडलाइंस व्हिच आर फॉर बायोलॉजिकल प्रोडक्ट्स. So what are the biologics or biological products? That they are the products which are manufactured, extracted from or semi-synthesized from a biological source, which is regulated by FDA and which are used to prevent, cure and treat diseases and medicinal conditions. They are known as biologics. तो जो भी चीज या तो आप मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हो या एक्सट्रैक्ट कर रहे हो या सिंथेसाइज कर रहे हो फ्रॉम एनी सोर्स विच इज बायोलॉजिकल, जो कि एफडीए रेगुलेट करता है, उनको बायोलॉजिक्स बोलते हैं. सो बायोलॉजिक्स और एपीआई में देयर इज द मेन डिफरेंस इज दैट द बायोलॉजिक्स आर जनरली लार्ज एंड कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉलिक्यूल्स जिसको बायोटेक्नोलॉजी की थ्रू हम लोग बनाते हैं. सो दे विल बी लाइक माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स, प्लांट सेल्स या एनिमल सेल्स का यूज करके कोई भी लार्ज या कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉलिक्यूल्स हम लोग बना रहे हैं, विच कैन बी प्रोटीन, शुगर, न्यूक्लिक एसिड, डीएनए, रिकॉम्बिनेंट डीएनए. They are the part of biological molecules or biologics. Examples के तौर पे हम लोग ले सकते हैं all the vaccines, botox injections, they all are biological parts. So apart from the complexities involved in the structure part or structural part, there is also one more complexities which is involved in the manufacturing part, that is the aseptic area or the involvement of aseptic principles compared to the conventional manufacturing process. Okay, so what are the sources of biologicals or biologics? That is the mammalian cell culture, bacteria, insect cell culture, plant cell culture, yeast, transgenics, avian cell cultures और humans. टाइप्स क्या है बायोलॉजिकल्स के? तो ब्लड डेरिवेटिव्स, वैक्सीन, एलर्जेनिक एक्सट्रैक्ट्स, होल ब्लड, ब्लड कंपोनेंट्स, प्रोटीन्स, ह्यूमन टिश्यूज, cellular and gene therapies, and xenotransplantation products. What is the basic difference between a biological molecule and chemical drug? In other words, we would say API. The size of biological molecule is large and the structure is complex compared to the chemical drug. The stability is relatively low compared to the chemical drug, and modification in terms that exact copy banana of the biological molecule is impossible. And for manufacturing, there are many options available for the manufacturing of the biological molecules compared to chemical drug, because in that case they are well defined. So that is the difference. And the next one is characterization. Uh, Here it is written impossible. Rather than impossible, we would say it is very complex to characterize the biological molecule fully. And for chemical drug, it is very easy. So, what are the regulatory guidelines related to the biological molecule or biological product? Is that for drug product, it falls under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. For the biological products, it falls under the Food, Drugs, and Cosmetic Act, along with Public Health Service Act. So, in US FDA, the Biologics team was established in 1997 to assure the quality and safety of the biological products. So what it consists of a core team which includes the certified ORA investigator, the CBER, that is Center for Biological Evaluation, certified inspectors, and specifically or specially trained compliance officers, which represents both the ORA and CBER. Okay. For regulatory authority for biologics, the regulatory authority is Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, that is CBER, which is a center within FDA जो specifically biological products जो भी human application के लिए है उसके लिए establish किया गया है, and they regulate the biological products for human use under applicable federal laws including the Public Health Service Act and the FDCA, that is Federal Food, Drugs and Cosmetic Act. तो CBER जो है it protects and advances the public health by ensuring that biological products जो है वो safe and effective होंगे. As I already told कि FDA जो है वो तीन चीजों पे खास फोकस करती है, that is what is the quality of the product, what is the safety of the product, and what is the efficacy of the product. So in any case they will look for the safe and effective formulation or dosage form for the marketing purpose. FDA's regulatory authority for the approval of biologics resides in PHS Act, that is Public Health Service Act. So the biologics will have to be regulated under both the part, that is for the Public Health Service Act and for the FDC Act both. In some cases, the combination of medical devices which will be used to produce the biologics, they will be also regulated by CBER under the FDC's Act of Medicinal Device Amendments of 1976. FDA also reviews new biological products and new indications and usage for already approved products in the market for the treatment of known diseases. It protects against threats of emerging infectious diseases, and it prevents or provides the public with the information to promote safe and appropriate use of the biological products. Next is what is the development and approval process. The first one is advertising and labeling. Second one is IND or device exemption process, that is IDE. Third one is expanded access. Fourth one is pre-market approval. Fifth one is biologics license application or a new drug application process. And the last one is biologics approval. So we will be talking about biologic license application, which is to request for the permission to introduce or deliver new biological product in the market. It is mainly regulated by 21 CFR 600 to 800, and it is submitted by any legal person or entity who engaged in the manufacture or applicant for a license, who takes the responsibility for the compliance with the product and the establishment of the standard. So biologics license application, that is BLA, it generally applies to vaccine and allergenic drug products and cellular and genetic therapies. Any FDA submission requires a cover letter, and for that cover letter, they are addressed below as the form FDA 356H, the cover letter, and all the 20 sections of the BLA applications And before each section, which is addressed individually, हर एक section के पहले, it is important to emphasize the application form, that is form FDA 356H, cover letter and first three sections. So under the Public Service Act, the Federal Food and Drug Administration has been given the authority concurrent with its authority under the FDCA to regulate the biologics. So FDA जो है वो बहुत सारे cover करता है for biologics, which includes vaccines, blood byproducts, monoclonal antibodies, tissue products, cellular products. So within the FDA, the Center for Biologics as well as the CDER, they can be responsible for regulation of biologics. Biologics which are to be evaluated for market, they will be evaluated by the FDA through the filing of the biologics license application. Biologic license application is equivalent to the filings of the new drug applications for the API, but उसकी एक complex requirements है because the API is now replaced by the biological molecules. So this is the form which is for the application for the marketing of a new drug biologics for human use. And it contains, as you can see, 1 to 20 the criteria which are to be provided for the application of biological drug molecules. So what it includes for the new drug or biological application is the cover letter, the form, that is transmission form, which is FDA form 356H. It includes patent information, the description of establishment, field copy certification, financial disclosures, patent certification, department certification, a user fee cover sheet, and other parts. In case of after the transmittal forms, there are other parts, that is index, which will include all the parts 1 to 20, labeling for the product, application summary, and the sections which are to be reviewed are number 4 is chemistry, number 5 is non-clinical pharmacology and toxicology, number 6 is human pharmacokinetics, sorry, and bioavailability. Number 7 is clinical microbiology. Number 8 is clinical data, which will deal with the safety update report and supporting data, that are the case report tabulation and case report forms. And number 10 is statistical. So all 1 to 20 parts are to be submitted to the new drug application in terms of biological products. So what it includes is that the cover letter, which is always accompanied for any FDA submissions, addressed are the matlab, there are cover letter which includes following parts, that is name and address of the sponsor and others, name of product, reason for submission, that is whether it is original submission, whether it is supplement to a submission or any amendments, information which is contained in the submission, agreements with the FDA, other documents which are related to submission, special circumstances, and fast track review. So application form, which is FDA 356H, it is an administrative document जो CBER को basic information देगा, applicant कौन है, product क्या है, and application किस चीज के लिए है. Second, it is the legal contract which binds the applicant, contractor, supplier, physicians कि आप सारे ही जो है you will follow the FDA laws and regulations. Then comes the index which influences the speed and efficacy of the reviewer कि कौन सी item है and कौन से page number पे है, just the same as index which we provide for any other part. Next one is a labeling section. It provides the initial draft labeling जो कि submit किया जाएगा for the BLA, and the final printed label which will submitted prior to the licenses accepted. It includes immediate container label, मतलब कि जो label which will be on the product, that is primary label, carton label, insert and other user instructions. Next one is summary section. It serves as a guide to full application. It explains the application's intent to establish biologics safety and effectiveness for a particular indication. It can build the confidence in the applicant and validity of the license information and product itself. And it is pivotal in establishing a foundation for product approval. So सबसे important जो section है, that is the summary section, जो idea देता है कि what is the intent of the establishment, what is the um, uh, information related the biologics which you are providing, and it is most important for establishing a foundation for the approval of the product. So what it includes, it includes the description of drug and formulation, in this case biologics. It includes annotated draft insert, product pharmacological class, scientific rationale for the use of product and excipient as well, clinical benefits, foreign marketing history, if any, CMC summary, drug substance, drug product, stability, and investigational summary. Non-clinical summary will include pharmacology and toxicological part, human pharmacokinetics and bioavailability data, microbiological summary, clinical summary, and risk to benefit relationship. Fourth section deals with the chemistry, that is including the CMC, samples, and method validation package. Section 5 includes the non-clinical pharmacology and toxicological section, which the CBER reviews to evaluate the adequacy and comprehensiveness to ensure that there are no inconsistency or there are no toxic effects for the biologics. In which the section 6 deals with human pharmacokinetics and bioavailability, 7 deals with microbiology, clinical microbiology, 8 deals with clinical data section, 9 deals with safety update reports, and 10 deals with statistical section. Other parts we have already discussed in the flow chart for the application of biological molecules. So it is important that the establishment compliance with the GMP, that is good manufacturing practice, and it is primarily accessed during the pre-approval inspection, which is performed by the FDA prior to final approval of the BLA, that is biological license application. That is because, as we had already discussed, that the chemical molecules or the APIs, they will be prepared under the conventional circumstances, while the BLAs are to be prepared under the aseptic conditions. And for that, the GMP or prior inspection will be there before the approval of the biological product. In August 2001, the CBER and CDER jointly issued a draft guidance document, which is specifically for the special interest to biological manufacturers. One, because it is labeled as not for implementation, and second, it's specifically restricted to specified biotechnological products, which means the well characterized biological product which applied to 4 distinct class of product, that is therapeutic DNA plasmid product, therapeutic synthetic peptide products for 40 or fewer amino acids, monoclonal antibody products for in vivo use, and therapeutic recombinant DNA derived products. So the guidelines which previously we described, they were specifically for these 4 kind of products. What is the review process? First is the current review process was developed to meet the requirements of Prescription Drugs User Free Act of 1996. According to this act, the FDA has agreed to institute the standards and timelines in exchange for user fees paid by BLA sponsors. So, यहाँ पे the goal is to standardize the review process and review content both. तो हर एक documents के लिए there will be a number issued which will provide the type of information जिसको आपको include करना है for the product class. Basically, all these are the guidelines which you need to consider before filing the FLA, and what will be the decision timeline for the US FDA. Next one is amending the license application. So during the review of the BLA, FDA may request to address unresolved issues regarding the original submissions, if they think that anything is missing या कुछ updates करनी चाहिए या कुछ चीजों के बारे में there is no clarity involved, they may ask for amendment, or they may also change any unapproved application. अगर कोई है तो in that case the amendment is to be done. Next one is supplement to the original BLA, that is amendments which are to be submitted to update or modified any unapproved BLA. They are to be submitted or to modify under the supplement to the original BLA. The last one is assembling and submitting the BLA. Submission of biological license application in electronic format would speed up the process for review, and it will also eliminate the handling of vast amount of paper. So there are many guidelines documents which are published, which provides information about the filing of BLA in electronic format, which is the conventional 356H format in the new CTD format. These are the references which I have taken, the US FDA guidelines for the approval process for biologics and pharmaceutical regulatory process, which was edited by Ira and Robert Martin. In case of any questions or query related to BLA, you can ask. So if there is no question related to this topic, I think we should end the meeting. Thank you very much for joining.